I'm Nazma, the Director of Rape Crisis Cape Town Trust, and I've been journeying with the organization for just over 21 years. Sexual violence is when a perpetrator, perpetrates a survivor. Most often, people think it's just about rape as determined in the Sexual Offences Act, but it could also include sexual harassment, sexual assault, and obviously all the various aspects of rape. Sexual violence could include many forms of different behaviors that often is not considered, it's in everyday life. There could be unwanted touching, there could be coercion, there could be people in positions that are vulnerable, people that have somebody that have influence and power over them. Often I think about, when somebody rubs up against you, and then you think, well, that's just somebody being, but it's also levels of sexual violence. The feeling of being completely uncomfortable. And the thing that often, sort of for me, is for people to recognize and to acknowledge that for themselves. Because society makes it feel as if, you're exaggerating, that it's not that way. But when something makes you feel uncomfortable, always trust your gut. Perpetrators are not strangers. It's not stranger danger. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, that somebody is not perpetrated by a stranger, because rapists and sexual assault perpetrators are often very opportunistic. But oftentimes it's somebody that you know. It's somebody that you trust, somebody that you trust with your family, in your family, somebody that you trust in a work environment, somebody that has, like I said earlier on, power and influence over you, somebody that's in a position of authority. There are so many cases where you've had somebody that has been in a position of authority, a school teacher, somebody at work, a boss. So in my experience, and that's why I sort of talk about the fact that I've been a counseling coordinator, often about 70% of perpetrators are known to survivors. It's not stranger danger. It's not somebody in the dark. It is somebody that you know. I think it's very important to talk about sexual assault, sexual violence, rape. Our communities struggle to use this language. Our communities struggle to understand what it means. One of the things that I've experienced very often is that communities think that rape is equal to sex, and that somebody would just journey towards healing like very quickly. It's not always the case. Or the fact that there should have been high levels of trauma and violence associated with a rape or a sexual assault. That's not always what happens. And the thing about speaking about sexual violence, especially now, and it should be every single day, is that our communities, like I said, they don't understand the impact. They don't understand the consequences. I've often, when I train, I talk about how if you've ever lost somebody, a family member, a parent, a partner, if you've lost somebody that you were extremely close to, even a pet, that's been part of your life and your life journey, when that person is gone, your life never goes back to being the same. And that is what happens with rape. Your life never goes back to being the same, but you journey and you adjust. And our communities don't understand the impact of rape. That's the biggest kind of concern for me, is that our communities don't understand that. And it happens so often because the thing about breaking the silence and having the courage to speak about it, and it's very brave when survivors do step forward, whether it is publicly, whether they reach out for counseling, just taking that step towards healing. And then it sort of domino effects into then doing psychoeducation with the family members, with communities, so that we start understanding exactly what the impact of rape is and how do we work with that. But also the thing about rape and sexual violence is very often people don't know what the definitions are. They don't know how uncomfortable it is for the survivor, and they don't know what the journey towards healing is. And in a lot of our young adolescent survivors, there's negative coping mechanisms, and families in question, why they coping like that, or why they're not healing towards, journeying towards healing more quicker. And it's a lifelong adjustment. So it's important to talk about these things. It's important to have our communities engaged. It's important for our communities also to start thinking about, the myths about rape. That somebody was asking if they were wearing a short skirt or if they were out at night. What were they doing So they keep on placing the blame on the survivor versus looking at the rape should never have happened in the first place.